Hello and welcome to F1 Now. In this video, we're going to be giving you the biggest winners and losers to the Miami Grand Prix Sprint weekend. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so Miami was another thriller of a weekend which had rain to spice things up a bit. We saw some teams rise to the occasion while others were struggling to keep up the whole weekend with how ill-prepared they were. But the stars of the weekend were, as usual, or unsurprisingly, McLaren. Although Max was able to get pole in the sprint, I think he said it nicely when he said the pole lap was more a reflection of his capability at that point to put it all together and not about the true pace of the car in relation to the rest of the field. And that was clear in how he was inevitably dominated on track by the McLarens in both the sprint and the race. So back to McLaren. This race was a statement from these guys to the rest of the paddock on how much work is needed in order to compete, let alone beat them on merit, because McLaren was just at least 2 steps ahead the rest of the field on this one. It was really impressive watching Landonorris eat up the laps, making overtakes after overtakes in the first stint to find his way back behind his teammates. But Max did try his best to use his wit to stay ahead, but it was clear that he was delaying the inevitable. And those laps spent fighting Verstappen, I would say, made a difference in Norris not winning this one, because on the last phase of the race he turned an about 10-second gap to just under 3 seconds. That's impressive pace. And like I predicted, the Miami track was the spark Lando needed to find his confidence again in that car. Yes, I know he didn't win it in the end, but what a drive from the guy. I mean, he was definitely my driver of the day. Piastri, on the other hand, was as usual cool, calm and collected, bringing home the win and much needed points for his lead in the championship. He is doing exactly what is needed of him in terms of a championship winning drive. Keyword: consistency. I am now more certain that the championship will be decided between the two drivers. And while we are still on consistency, how can we not mention Mercedes? Antonelli came into this weekend looking as the driver on it for the team. Pole in the sprint, but without a conversion, is still a great achievement for the youngster. He's showing that he's not far away from his best form yet. And Toto might be the happiest knowing that he doesn't have a rookie driver who's binning it, costing money every other race weekend. Russell, on the other hand, bagged another podium finish because he was able to be in a good position when the virtual safety car hit, coupled with the fact he started on hards, moving on to mediums with more pace to the end, doing a good job to fend off Max. Now, when I said we saw teams rising to the occasion, another team that made a significant step comparable to McLaren will have to be Williams. They were pretty much right there with the top teams all weekend. They were basically one of the front-running teams on this one, considering they were the 4th fastest team ahead of Ferrari on pure pace. Okay, but it's highly likely that their performance was more track specific rather than where they truly are moving forward. But that will still keep the other teams on notice because they will know that on some tracks to come, Williams will be another problem to look out for. So all in all, a great weekend for both drivers, taking points. And Albon putting that Williams on prime position for points. We definitely haven't seen a Williams that high up in a long time and ahead of one Mercedes. Oh, what an embarrassing weekend for Ferrari. I think it has become a trend now that on sprint weekends Ferrari ends up being largely a disappointment. They do good in the sprint, but because of certain circumstances, but end up being trash in the following race. It's crazy how this team has gone from fighting for the constructors in the previous year to now struggling to stay ahead of the Williams. On pure pace alone, they were just nowhere in Miami. They were outgunned in quali, leaving the strategy to be their only savior come race day. And it looked like it was all going to end well with Hamilton, considering he started outside the top 10 on hards. But even though he was making up positions and gained from the virtual safety car, it ended up being that his own enemy of progress would be his team's decision making. Up front, Leclerc was dead in the water, making no improvements in both stints, to the point that Hamilton was eventually right there behind him, and rather than seizing the moment to get Hamilton ahead to fully benefit from his different strategy, they took 3 business days to make up a decision, and by then the damage was already done on Hamilton's mediums. Personally, I think that blunder lost these guys a 6 and 7 finish, because had they not wasted time, both drivers had the pace to overtake Antonelli in the end. But the strategy clown show had different plans, and it seems it has already gotten on Hamilton's last nerve. So it's clear now that for Ferrari to make an improvement, they don't just need a better performing car, but also better decision making, because this would hurt twice as hard if they were challenging for the title. Now that is it for the biggest winners and losers to the Miami Sprint weekend. I'm curious to hear you guys' opinions on this race, because a lot went down. So with that, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Once again, thank you and bye for now.